Hello students, welcome to science class. Today we are going to study chapter 11, that is light, shadow and reflection. You must have seen as you observe many things around you, many colorful and different things around you. Maybe a table, chair, pencil box. When you move out you see bus, car, trees, animals, flowers. How are you able to see all these things? If I tell you to go into a dark room, will you be able to see things in that room? No. In a complete dark room, you will not be able to see anything. But as you switch on a torch, you will be able to see, or light a candle, you will be able to see the objects that are present in the room. That means without light, things cannot be seen. Light helps us to see the object. Light is a main thing that is required to see. The torch bulb is an object that gives out light of its own. Sun is another example of the uh, object that gives out light. During day, the light allows us to see objects like the sun that gives out or emit lights of its own is called as a luminous object. If I tell you, how are you able to see the chair or a table in the room? It is only with the help of a light, means torch. That means to see any object you need a luminous object like sun or torch or an electric bulb. The light of the luminous object, when it falls on the object that we have to see, then that light travels towards our eyes, so we are able to see. So this is a luminous object. What a luminous object? Which emits light of its own, and non-luminous are those objects which don't have light of their own. Luminous objects like sun, torch, electric bulb, and non-luminous can be anything, that is chair, table and everything. Now let's come to another. This thing is transparent, opaque and translucent object. What are transparent object? An object through which we can see the other side, means we can see things. The allows the light to pass through it is known as a transparent object. Like if I tell you a glass window or maybe water, clear water, you are able to see to the other side of it, is a transparent object. An opaque object is which does not allow light to pass through it at all, is known as an opaque object, which we have done in our previous classes also. Now what is a translucent object? Translucent objects are those objects through which we can see but not very clearly. Such objects are called translucent. Let me give you an example. Frosted glass. There are some where you have frosted glass from which you might be able to see but not clearly, or a butter paper. They are all example of a translucent object. Now you can see the things around you and just identify what are translucent, transparent and opaque object. Now let's get to another thing about it, is what exactly are shadows. If I tell you to hold an opaque object in a sunlight slightly above the ground, you will be able to see a patch, black patch on the ground. That is basically known as shadow. Sometimes you can identify the object through looking at the shadow, means when you are walking down the road and you see somebody, means you can make it out from, if from the shadow of a person, whether a person is on a cycle or maybe there is a dog or maybe there is a cat. But there are some objects which you might not be able to identify from the shadow. Let's take an example. Let's do one kind of an activity. You can do one thing is you spread a sheet of paper on a ground and just hold one opaque object just above the ground, slightly above your hand, and see that the shadow of that object falls on that paper, and ask one of your friend to draw the outline of the object. And you can do 2 3, and then you can play a game with your friend and tell them whether he is able to identify what kind of an object it might be while looking at the uh, outline of the shadow that you have drawn. That is one. And now one more thing is there, like we go out in the evening. Now we know that we need a light, and if I tell you to go in a dark room and when there is no light, will you be able to see any shadow? No, you will not. Moment you switch on the torch, then only you will be able to see the shadow of the object. That means we need an opaque object and we need a source of light for it. Now, if I tell you, you just go out with your friend in the night and uh, stand stand on a ground where there are no trees, no building at all. Now do one thing: take a torch and from the ground lit the torch and let the light fall on your friend's face. Will you be able to see the shadow of the person? You will not be able to see the shadow. Why is that person an transparent person that the light is passing through it? No, the body is an opaque body, and we have a source of light. Then why we are not able to see the shadow? Now do one thing: ask one of your friend just to take a cardboard sheet and put it behind the head of that person. Now when you are passing the light, switching on the light, you can see the shadow of that person on that cardboard. What does that mean? That means we need a source of light, we need a source of light, we need a opaque object, and we need a screen to see. Three things are required for a shadow. One is the source of light, one is opaque body object, and third is the screen. Now I will tell you one more thing, like if I place a chair in a ground on a sunny day and observe the shadow, and if I turn it a bit and see the shadow, you will find a difference in it. That means that it means like the shadow is not exactly of the same size and shape of the object. It might change, it depends on how far from the source of light is coming from. And if I tell you that you are holding a flower of a color red or a blue or any other color, what kind of a shadow it will have? It will have the black color shadow only. The shadow, there is no shadow that is of any color, it is of black color only. And like if you are holding a rectangular box in one direction and then you change the direction, the shadow will also change. So this means that the shadow is never the same, it keeps on changing. It is sometimes it depends on how the light is falling on it. It might be shorter, it might be longer, it is not accurate as it is of the object. So from the shadow we cannot make out how big or how small or what the kind shape could be of the object. This is all for today, and next time we'll take another thing.